Okay.
You're on.
Okay, well, let's get started. Welcome to Facilities, October 7th. Present is Mr. Hawes, Mr. Wolf, Dr. Otto, Mr. Smith, and myself. We have the Reading Eagle, and we have Mr. Martino here. With that, I'll turn this over to Mr. Smith, and we'll go through the agenda.
All right. Here you go, Keith. You can have this one. You're not getting the one with all the details on it.
That'd be too easy.
All right, let's start out with what we made this year on our demand response. This year we had a test event in June. Then back in September we had an emergency event. Yep. Okay, for the emergency event, we made roughly $67,000 for shutting the power off for approximately 3 hours. Then our emergency revenue from that was another $5,040. And basically, I have an email attached there. You can see what we made at each building. And for our Act 129, for the BEC chillers, we ended up making $6,493 on that. So all totaled right there, we made $78,533 for the Act 129 and our demand response.
Which is a drastic increase over previous years.
Previous years, we were making anywhere from $30,000 to $35,000 for one test event, but a test event is only for an hour. This emergency event went on for over 3 hours. The BEC entry doors, I put a quote on there. We're in need for some doors in that building. I got some quotes today. We really have to look at the lower playground door that goes out back to the playground. Them doors are a safety issue right now. You have to slam the doors. They're shot. The hinges are sprung. The hardware's, they're shot. We need a new set of doors there. And basically that set of doors for a lower playground comes in at $8,800 for them set of doors. Also on that is the main doors for Birdsboro. I got a price quote on that. And there's 2 sets of doors there. For one set of doors, it comes in at $82.25. And also for the other set of doors, it comes in at $82.25. These are not a priority, but within the next year, they should be replaced.
So the completely rusted hinges?
The hinges are all sprung. The openers, we had to put other openers on them. They're not the proper openers for the doors. The hardware, the panic bars for the doors are not really in good shape anymore. And also for the front door, we really have no 36-inch door there, an 88 door to get in through there. So we have an issue there for the front doors.
Is there a priority on one versus the others? We
have to replace the lower playground doors is a priority. And that's the doors that come in at $88.10.
Okay.
And the upper playground doors where the kids go to the upper playground off the second floor. They're also shot too. And that price comes in at $8,900.
So we should prioritize both of those.
Yes.
Okay.
The lower playground and the upper playground doors. Well, the funding source for them will be capital reserve. We put that $67,000. We're going to put that $67,000 in there from demand response. Like I said, the total for the demand response in the Act 29 this year, we made $78,000.
When will payment?
That comes in every month. The payment for the Act 129 for the Birdsburg chillers, we already received that check, if I'm not mistaken, which got deposited in the capital reserve.
Okay.
So basically, we're prioritizing the upper playground doors and the lower playground doors as of right now. Talking to Mary Beth Kiesel at Birdsboro, she would like for us to look into whiteboards, magnetic whiteboards for the building, because there's blackboards out there right now. And Jeff is so kind to be here tonight to explain basically why we would need the whiteboards.
Well, one of the primary uses for the whiteboards now, teachers using the computers with their projectors, putting math problems, putting things on the board. All our other buildings already have whiteboards. I didn't even realize until a couple months ago that they only had black chalkboards there. Essentially, the kids can't interact with the material that they shine on the screen. So we started talking about other options to make it more interactive, and then kind of came to the conclusion the first step would be to get whiteboards in the room, so at least they can do some of the more basic things like we're not seeing the rest of the schools in the district are already doing. So again, that was not really technology related, but in order to use some of the technology already in the building, take advantage of it, whiteboards are kind of fundamental today, or for many, probably 15 years, they've been pretty fundamental. So our recommendation was to start with that.
So we're looking at 24 rooms.
We're looking at 24 rooms. It basically comes down to $912 per room. If we would want to tackle that, we would phase that in. We would start, I talked to Mary Beth today, Mrs. Kiesel today, and she would like to start on the third floor.
Is there, obviously, some of these, if we phase this in, is there, all the rooms have blackboards, or do they have pull down?
Currently, they have pull down screens in rooms that go in front of the blackboards. Obviously, you can't write on the screen.
Right.
They're literally like an old-fashioned movie screen.
I believe, and this is Birdsboro is one of our underperforming, more challenging schools.
At the curriculum meeting the other night, I'm pretty sure Mr. Shaheen and Mrs. Torsha said that there were a lot of whiteboards purchased that still aren't being used.
Well, I think they were looking into possibly review which whiteboards aren't being used at certain schools, at certain
All I'm saying is before we start purchasing more.
Some are smart boards, some are whiteboards.
Yeah, they were smart boards.
Smart boards, I wasn't aware of that conversation at all. We've already started moving smart boards around, getting them into the hands of teachers. We've moved two in Amity Elementary already that came out of this building. We have one more that's slated to pull out of the Monocacy Library and go into a classroom where it can be used. Now the library is shorter. The teachers in the library program are saying they'd rather see it get utilized elsewhere where it can be used full time.
So pretty much right now, there's no more whiteboards in this.
I have to look around with Kenny.
I have whiteboards here. When we renovated this building, what had happened is we had a couple bubbles come out on these whiteboards here. So I called Everrace up and I said, I need 9 more whiteboards. They sent us 9 more whiteboards for nothing. I went in, took a razor blade, cut the bubbles, pushed the bubbles back. They stayed. I got 9 whiteboards down in the tunnel down in this building right now, but they're not magnetic.
They wouldn't cover 9 rooms, but they could probably contribute to some areas.
I mean, I think right now instead of having them sitting in the hallway, I wouldn't mind seeing them in the...
And we can phase them in.
Yeah, the goal is to get the magnetic in the center because that opens up opportunities for other tools and other things. There's some interactive devices that can stick to the board that are much cheaper than what we've had in classic smart boards. So again, we kind of started trying to phase this in, get it magnetic for the center panel. And I think the two end panels, Ken, if I saw the spec right, they're just regular.
Yeah, they're just regular.
Sides.
Yeah.
The goal was to at least have the part that the projector is shining on to be magnetic.
Okay. I think we'll bring this up at the board level.
Funding source.
Correct.
Funding source would be, cap reserve, where we put that money back into from the demand response. That's the whole funding source for what I'm doing here tonight, this evening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5, the BC tank identification. That's basically, I got a letter from the state saying that our tank out of Burrsburg, which we no longer use, basically I have 300 gallons left of heating oil in that tank. It's a 10,000 gallon tank to get that pumped out. And basically we don't have to pay the $825 per year identification fee to the state anymore. So basically we can get that pumped out, and which I'll probably pump that out ourselves and use it elsewhere, probably down in the garage if it's any good anymore. There's not a whole lot of water in it.
Been there a fairly long time.
That fuel oil's been in there for a long time, probably 10 years. The annex windows. Up at the high school in the annex, when we did the renovations up there, we have Alcoa Traco windows in there. What's been happening is the inside gasket between the two panes, the gasket's been lifting, which breaks the seal in the window. We got the windows. I had the windows in stock. They were no charge. There's 65 windows total. But since then, Alcoa has bought Traco, and Alcoa will not honor the installation charge at no fee. So the fee from Alcoa to put them windows in, for Traco to put the windows in now, is basically $15,000, $15,930 to install them windows.
This is a manufacturing defect?
This is a manufacturing defect.
And they're going to charge us to correct their problem?
We got the windows for free. Alcoa bought Traco, and Traco will not, Alcoa will not honor the installation to put the windows in. And plus, it's over 5 years.
So we're lucky they participated as far as they
We're
did.
lucky we got the glass.
And as
65 panes, you're talking some serious money.
you mentioned the timetable for your crew to replace it.
I never replace windows that big. They're big windows. They're big windows. I've seen them do it, but we don't have the time to do that. Plus,
Did we go out to try anyone else for installation quotes?
No, they're the people that put them in. I'd like for them to reinstall them, to replace them.
That demand response money is really getting sucked up quick.
Yeah. Yep, that's why we're here.
What's the projection right now when they have to be replaced? Can they be in stages?
What we did last year when we had a couple replaced, we did them over Thanksgiving and over Christmas, because they bring a crew of guys in to get it done.
What's the new warranty?
The new warranty is 10 years on the glass. High school bathrooms. We bought this up last year, the Facilities Committee last year. There's drywall in the bathrooms at the high school in the new part. They are disgusting.
Hideous.
They are very disgusting. It's unsanitary in there anymore. So what we would like to do, we'd like to put new wall treatments up, epoxy paint the floor again, and repair the fixtures in there. It's sad.
You're going to put a plastic coating for the wall?
Yeah, it's the core guard. It's the same thing if you walk into like a hospital or any doctor's office. It's like the plastic that you see with excrusions on the corners and stuff like that. It's a nice product. And the core guard is state contracted through Sherwin-Williams, so we'll get a state contracted price on there. And I already priced it out, so it comes approximately with fixtures and the epoxy paint for the floor, which we already have because we did the locker rooms. We try to do the locker rooms as much as we can. It comes out to about approximately $2,000 per bathroom, and there's a total of 4 bathrooms. It's a project that we've been wanting to do for the last 2 years. We just got to make time and do it this year. The bathrooms they're disgusting at the high school.
Get a chair. Okay, I'll sit there. Okay.
She got one.
You got one? All right.
Mrs. Hamill has joined our group. Welcome. Okay.
Number 8, the high school ramps to the F section. We have to put a slip-resistant ADA floor treatment on that. We have a couple special needs students in the high school where we need something that's ADA spec that is slip-resistant. So I have the product. We're going to shut down one hallway at a time that goes down into the F section, if you're familiar with the building, down the ramps. And we're going to start that October 21st. It'll take 1 week to do each ramp. Then the following week, we open that ramp up and close down the other ramp at the cafeteria and do that ramp. So it's a total of 2 weeks to get the ramps done for that product. Number 9, the high school tower bearings, pump replacement, and the tower ceiling. We're going to do that next Monday in the in-service day. We've been replacing pumps, which I'll get to later here, our VFD main loop pumps. We didn't get a chance to do the high school. The high school is a little bit different creature than the rest of our buildings. So we're going to do it on the 14th. So what we're going to do, basically, we have 2 pumps to change. There's not a whole lot of shutoffs in that building, so we have to come up with plates to put in between the pump and the flex lines that go up from there. We got to split it apart, put the plates in so we don't lose prime on the pumps. So we're going to do the pumps in the morning. Faculty comes in. Hopefully we get the pumps up and running. Then probably around 4 o'clock, we're going to shut everything back down, and we're going to go out and take the bearings off the tower out in the courtyard out there. We use the band truck is. There's a 2.5-inch shaft out there that we have to replace the trunnions with the bearings in. So that'll take us pretty much up until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night to get them off, because you got to heat them up, pound them out. Got to brace the squirrel cages up, take the belts off, take the motors loose, realign the motors to the belts, put the stuff back on, and adjust everything up. So that'll be next Monday. High school floor machine. We had talked about this. I don't know, when was it? 2 years ago when we had the IntelliBot up there, the robotic floor machine. Our floor machines at the high school right now are probably 15 to 20 years old. They're shot. We need a new floor machine. I'd like to go out under $6,000 and purchase a new floor machine for the high school.
Do we have is this concrete 6 or not to exceed 6?
Not to exceed 6.
So the old one's barely hanging on, or not working?
The one doesn't even work anymore. We're just using parts off of that.
Okay.
Number 11, MEC kindergarten room heat pump replacement. This had started probably back at early spring. What we're doing is when we first start that heat pump up, we get about a 61 degree discharge on the temp. Within 5 minutes, it goes up to 78. So what we found is the compressor, the valves are shot in the compressor, and the discharge is leaking over to the suction side. So it's shot. It's shot. On the way here, I talked to Andrew Odell from Parts at Train out in Harrisburg. They're going to give us a heat pump at their cost. The heat pump is $3,900. That heat pump's got to get changed. There will be no heat in the kindergarten room at Monocacy if I don't change it. We're struggling right now. What happens, it goes off on high pressure. It goes off on high pressure a couple times, and it goes on high pressure lockout. Then we're done. We have nothing in that room. That heat pump needs changed.
When is that scheduled?
As soon as I get the heat pump, probably at night. We'll probably go in the evening and do it. You know, to remove and replace heat pump and get it set all up. I can hook the rover up to it and get it all. Get it set up.
You're gonna change lines, feed lines with it, or not?
No, not really. I mean, basically the feed lines are just flex lines to go in there and stuff like that, and just hook up the vents and the intake and the supply and the return.
So, ship it this week?
No. He was going to get back to me tomorrow to see when delivery is. So I really don't know on that one. Number 12, the geothermal loop. Over at the building, that's a geothermal building in Monocacy. What we've been getting a high loop temp over there. I don't know if you're familiar with geothermal, it's ground source. Okay, I don't know because of the water table going down in the last couple of weeks. We're getting a really high loop temperature over there. There's no air in the system. We're not losing any glycol. We're not losing any water or anything like that. The pressure's all staying the same. But just a heads up, it came down over the weekend, but during the summer we were getting a really high, not past max, but we were getting high loop temperature. There's 3 independent loops in that building, so we were getting a really high loop temperature in there. So it's just something to be aware of. I don't know what's going on. I've been talking to Snyder Hoffman, our mechanical engineers. They don't think it's a problem, but we had a couple HRUs and ERU units go off on high pressure. We never had that before.
Have they noticed other surrounding schools with issues with the way the water table lies?
No, I talked to a couple people who have ground source, and basically they've been experiencing somewhat of a problem. So, this ain't extreme. It's just a heads up.
What's your normal temp? 55?
No, or basically our ground loop for something like that when it comes into the building is anywhere from 70 to 75 degrees, 80 degrees. But it was up to like 85, 90. Max is like 110. When it goes on 110, you're going to start hitting high pressures and knocking everything out. Then it'll go into lockout, and you won't be able to start the units up. The building will go hot. Number 13, the AEC roof coating. Something I had planned to do in the spring, then in the fall. This definitely got to be done this spring. It was already board approved for capital. We just got to get the product and get it applied. Hopefully we get time in the spring to do it. If not, I'm going to come to the board and ask to sub it out or have somebody there to help us do it.
Do you have a base number for that?
Yeah, it's $8,800, and like I said, it's already approved through capital.
That's for materials. We don't know anything for cost.
I don't know anything for cost. We're going to try to do it ourselves.
Okay. You have a lot of projects.
We got tons of projects for 4 guys.
I mean, the staff has definitely
for 4
deeply
guys.
reduced over the last 4 years.
Yes. Number 14, AEC playground equipment. The playground equipment over at Amity Elementary is installed, which was purchased by the PTC. Number 15, I've been getting this quote from American Water. If you're familiar with over at the middle school, at the Amity Park there, before you get to the park where you can park for the playground, there's a fenced-in area right there. Well, underground, that's our pumping station to pump that up to the middle school. What I'm asking here is, if we would ever experience any type of leak or anything like that, we'd be in big trouble. What PA American Water has been sending me is basically an insurance policy that would add $25 a month onto our bill for the middle school, and which would cover up to $30,000 for repairs for $25 a month, $24.99.
What's your recommendation?
My recommendation is to put the $25 onto it for just in case.
Seems like a small amount.
Just in case.
That's a long span.
It's a long span. If I've been down underneath that thing a couple times, it's like a small submarine down there.
They outboost the homeowners too.
Yeah.
Because I'm one that was just
Yeah.
They outboost the homeowners.
And it's a long way up to the school.
Is that encased in any casing, the pipes? Is it not a pull-through ring, nothing like that? So
No.
It's full dig.
It's just direct burial water line.
What doesn't it cover?
What doesn't it cover?
Right.
I don't know what it doesn't cover.
Well, here they're saying normal wear and tear.
Normal wear and tear. I mean, if you
So-
get in there and start digging and hit a water line, it's not going to
That's on
cover.
you.
Yeah,
That's on
that's
you.
on the
But I
company.
don't see us getting in there digging anything.
Okay. Well, I think it's a small price to pay for what could happen.
Okay.
So we'll bring that recommendation.
So it's basically $300 a year.
Yeah, it basically runs out to $300 a year. Which, if we would ever rupture a line or anything like that, I think it'd be worth it.
Which building does it cover? Or all?
Middle school.
Just middle school.
We
Now,
don't
is
have
that-
any general liability or insurance, anything like that that's already in place that would cover this?
Not that I know of.
Most of them they don't.
Not that I know of. Not for the water lines. Not going up through like that from the pumping station.
And that's not shared through the township in any given way, correct?
No, that's our independent line
Private
running
property.
through there. It's private. Yep.
So that's where the meter is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Over the summer, number 16 over the summer, and basically I have some pictures here. The public wants to see the pictures. We have the turf swept, and basically that's like the hair dander and everything that was in the turf. This is some of the items that we found in the turf. And basically we added GMAX testing. So everything's up to par for the stadium as far as any type of play on the stadium, as far as the hardness of the field.
That is the same as the grooming.
It's the same as the grooming, yes. Yep. So our GMAX testing is good for another 2 years, and we'll probably get the grooming and the vacuuming done again in another 2 years. Number 17, summer work this year. You see it. Basically, we moved this building and a lot of other teachers in the building. We installed the kitchen equipment from this building over to BEC, which required new natural gas lines, some plumbing and electrical. We removed the middle school MEC and the AEC loop pumps for rebuild, because what they're finding out now on our loop pumps, we have variable frequency drives on these, And what they're finding out with metal bearings on these loop pumps, when that VFD is pulsing like that to keep them motors running, it's zapping the metal bearings, which gets transferred onto the shaft and starts burning the shaft. So basically, we pulled the pumps off, and now we have ceramic bearings on these shafts. So basically, we should be in good shape for a while. And we did have burn marks on our shafts, which was repairable. I'm glad we did it this year, which was repairable. I mean, if we would have waited longer, we would have been replacing. Well, the highest horsepower pump that we got are over at the middle school. They're 135 horsepower pumps. They're about this big and about that long. So basically, that's the preventive maintenance that we did this summer, and I'm glad we did. Because that's a chunk of change. And basically, we also started the lighting retrofit from the T12 to the T8 at Birdsboro on our rainy days that we couldn't move. We basically have the third floor hallway done, the second floor hallway, and some of the classrooms on the third floor. Once the winter rolls around, our goal is to get out there in the evening, get the guys basically on a third shift, including myself, and go out there and knock this building out. Number 18, district-wide door numbering. If you're familiar with the high school, if you go up past the high school, all the doors are numbered. I like to do this to all the buildings for the first responders, because if there is an issue at any of the buildings, if you give them a door number, they'll know what door number to go to. If you say to come to the west side of the building, there's 1,000 doors on the west side of the building. So what I like to do is number all the buildings with signs, big numbers like we have at the high school.
Talking about exterior doors.
Exterior doors, yes. Yep, exterior doors. I get the number of the signs done locally.
De minimis cost.
De minimis cost.
But again, just want to make sure people understand it's exterior doors.
Yes, it's exterior doors.
How many Knox boxes do we have at each building?
The middle school we have 2. This building we have 1. Amity Elementary we have 1. Monocacy we have 2. The high school we have 2. And Birdsboro Elementary we have 2.
Are they known or labeled separate or differently?
We don't label them. The fire company knows where they're at, and the first responders know where they're at. And only they have keys for them. Mm-hmm. We do not have keys for them. Only the township cops or the state police and the fire companies have keys for the Knox boxes. The Knox boxes are for first responders when they get there to get into the building. We're not allowed to have keys for them. The only thing we do is supply the main keys, master keys for the Knox boxes so they can get into the buildings. Number 19, panic buttons. I'll let Jeff talk about this. He did some research on the panic buttons because it was brought up at one of the board meetings about having panic buttons at the secretary's desk so they can just hit the panic buttons and it will call 911 automatically. I'll turn it over to Jeff.
You want to just tell everybody what that means as far as the response? Can you talk to somebody at the state police?
Yeah, basically the state police, if it's labeled like a panic button, like in a bank, if you hit that panic button or the button underneath, basically you're going to have helicopters, SWAT teams, you're going to have everybody coming to that building.
I thought that was important. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it'd be like a hang up and they try and contact the building or what.
Yeah. So if you would hit this panic button somehow, that's what's probably going to happen.
So this isn't a local level. How many police come over?
It goes right to Central Station in Reading, and Reading dispatches from Central Station on the severity. Like if it's a panic button, you hit that panic button just like in a bank. I would imagine. I really don't know. I was just told this from a retired state cop that if you would hit that panic button, that means you're panicking. There's a burglar or something.
I would imagine like that. FEMA kicks in
Mm-hmm. So
I still have some research to do. I'm going to talk to some other schools in the area, but what I'm finding is problems with the panic buttons are, first, where do you put them? Especially in the high school and elementary is a little different, but in a bigger building, where do you put it that it's accessible but not going to get bumped or in the way? They seem to be typically part of a much larger unified security system than what we have available in any of our buildings. So that's most of what I'm finding is kind of inconclusive. A lot of people are just suggesting with all the cell phones out there now, dialing 911 really isn't a problem. All of our phones, the new ones we put in the summer, the high school and admin, if 911 is dialed, it'll email out to administrators that are selected. So we've already had one just for a student that had a health issue. 3 or 4 different administrators were notified immediately so we could follow up and see what the issue was. So at this point, I'm still not finding great applications or uses. There's been some grants, federal grants given out. In Maine specifically, there was one I read about. But again, I haven't really seen great use cases or feasible solutions, but I'm still doing some research. I want to talk to schools in this area to see if anybody's done.
So as far as right now, no other schools have done panic buttons that you're aware of?
I haven't had lengthy discussions. I've talked to a few that I have personal relationships with in the area, and they have not gone that route.
I can't imagine that right now you would need to implement something of that nature due to the fact, like you said, you have cell phones, you have the phones in the classroom, the doors are locked, so it's going to be some kind of emergency. It's going to be in the building, and it's going to be controlled either by a teacher or administrator, which is going to be at a phone.
Yeah, again, I haven't found anybody that suggests that it's hard to get mad at your phone. We have phones. I mean, the high school office load, I think there's 14 different people in there, all obviously with them at the desk, several with cell phones, district issued or personal. So it's hard to find the use case. I know it's a popular thing right now with all the events we've had, traffic events. Panic button sales are probably through the roof with security systems, but
it's not like putting a doorbell under the desk. It's not like putting a doorbell under the desk.
Well, the kids will be on the phone before the administrators even get on the phone.
The problem with the button being too accessible, too easy to push, is an accident's going to happen.
Then what? Are we going to pay a really big fine?
Again, I'm still doing research, trying to keep an open mind to different ideas to see what people have done. But it certainly doesn't seem like a first step in terms of emergency procedures.
Obviously, keep reviewing, but I think right now we need to move on.
Yep, if I get better information, I'll certainly bring it back.
Okay, thank you.
Number 20, I'd like to thank the PTC. Dr. Otto brought it up at the last board meeting. They did a great job painting the hallways over at AEC. They still have some work to do over there, but it was great. They were in and out in a week, and basically while we were moving, it worked out great. We coordinated together. Terrific. Everything worked real good. Number 21, we do a Goodwill program. This year, our supervisor for the Goodwill was Mrs. Boyer Chastity, works at the high school. She had 4 kids this year, and basically they painted the whole 2nd and 3rd floor hallways at BEC. This is a program run by the Goodwill of Berks County. The kids get paid, the supervisor gets paid, not through the school district, through Goodwill. And basically, just move. So,
do that at a board meeting.
Yeah. So, they did a great job. 22, we'll just go walking around here. We'll show basically where we hope River Rocks comes in and what we like to do as far as the district office move. Our lease runs out at the Brook Building June 30th of 2014.
End of this fiscal year.
End of this fiscal year. We need a place to move the district office. Basically, I would like to move it into this building. The reason I'd like to move it into this building, we wouldn't have to do much work here to move the district office in. If we go to the high school, basically the money that we'll save in the first year, we'd have to put back into that building to put walls up, to split HVAC systems, and everything else. to move into the high school to do it. So my recommendation is we have the room to move the district office here. We'll take a walk around.
But if you do that, then you can't lease this building. Is that not correct? You can't lease, you can't get maximum revenue from this building.
This is already leased. We'll take a walk around, Mr. Martino, and we'll take a look at all the space that's available.
What I understand is that River Rock's taking about a third of the building.
Probably about a third. We're talking this horseshoe here that was built back in 1972. They want to use the cafeteria as a common place and the gym as a common place, a shared place.
So, but there's no plans to lease any space, any of the empty space at the high school. So wouldn't it make more financial sense to move the administrative offices there, even if it's going to cost some renovations, and maximize the revenue from this building?
That's something for the board to do, to figure out. That's something for the board to figure out. My recommendation right now to recover the cost, so we have the cost, is move in here for right now.
I mean, you're looking at the high school, we're looking around 100,000, correct?
Basically, to split the systems and B1, 2, and 3 at the high school, basically there's one univent in there, and it's in the middle of the room. We'd have to split that system. We'd have to buy another univent, move the one over. That basically is going to be another univent, more piping, and controls for that there. And we're talking 4 univents with controls and piping with shutoffs. We're talking walls being built with electric. And some type of floor treatment if they don't want VCT in their rooms. That's what we're looking at.
And you're looking a crew of 4 to be able to do that when you have a list with these items in the district to maintain yearly to be able to do something like that.
If we're gonna do this, I'd like to know sooner than later. Okay, because as far as manpower, including myself, I have 4 people as far as maintenance. And to sub it out, you're talking a lot of money. We can do it ourselves.
But then we're going to neglect somewhere else in the district.
Well, we're not really going to neglect because I can bring groundskeepers in. Them guys know how to put up walls. They know how to do drywall and stuff like that. It's just the mechanical end of it, as far as the electrical, running the controls, doing the piping. You know what I mean? And stuff like that.
Would we do anything to isolate the students from the officers?
Nothing you can do.
There's nothing you can do. There's going to be lockers in the hallways. Mm-hmm. So basically,
it's basically a mixed population.
When someone's in their office, they're going to hear lockers slamming.
I'm not worried about that part. The part that concerns me is the traffic that we have in the central office is people looking for job applications.
Correct.
People coming in for volunteer clearances. People looking. The only way you can really secure the high school then is either alternatively with some gating, which we can't really do with fire code and things like that, wall off a certain part of the building, which incurs more expense, or hire more security guards to keep the public from coming in. So there's some extra cost incurrence that you're going to have there for, believe it or not, we do have a regular steady stream of, I mean, it's technically a public place. People can just, when we have our building here, people just, they come in.
As far as security, you'd have to keep one at door number 4 where the swipe card is at the annex there. You'd have to keep a security guard there all day, basically posted from the time.
With a sign in and sign out.
With a sign in, sign out, basically with someone there from 8 to 4, the office hours. Basically to escort them people that come into that building to that office. You just can't
let them wander down the hall.
You can't buzz them in and just let them wander through that building. I mean, you know, we got it to a place right now with the security and everything, with the swipe cards and everything like that, or I feel comfortable that the building is in lockdown.
Are all other school districts, do they have like the district offices at other buildings separate from the schools? Are there any out of the box ideas that other school districts are doing to kind of, get extra space out of, have you looked into any of that? Other districts running into the same problem with space? Or in general, are they always in separate buildings?
No, a lot of it has to do with the size of the school district, history. You'll see many, like I remember when I worked in Exeter used to have their administration, they, instead of getting rid of a very old elementary building, they just occupied it, but it was real small, like Monocacy.
Right.
And they actually filled it, and it became too small. Other places, like I know in Boyertown, which is a bigger school district, they actually just built an administration building, which in a district this size I would never recommend.
Right.
So it really depends a lot on, when I was over North Penn, that's a district with 11,000 kids, their administration building became from an old elementary school. It was Hancock Elementary became their administration building. So I think it's kind of all over the map as to where you go. Part of what we're looking at is also to really not take a lot of space here. We're only looking at moving really 2 central departments here, and that would be the district administration, which is the superintendent, the assistant to the superintendent,
3 secretaries.
3 secretaries, and the business office.
That's it.
Facilities is going to stay at the high school already. We've already farmed out special ed, so it's not like the high school isn't already being used for central administration. So the high schools, the high school has special ed already, has technology,
and
to the large degree, facilities would probably wind up. Penny's thinking about.
I work out of my truck.
Working out, but a lot of their centralized stuff is really at the high school. So we're already 2/3 of the central administration is already in the high school.
So I guess is there, I have no idea, that's why I'm asking. But like,
That's a good question.
Is there another elementary school? I know AEC is probably chock full at this point for the
Mm-hmm.
schools. Is there any, I get the security issue, but is there, I guess I'm just looking, it might be worthwhile to look around at other districts, maybe in the same kind of group, and see if there are any out of the
What I did, AEC's full. Okay, Monocacy basically is pretty full.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Birdsboro, the way that building's laid out, are you familiar with Birdsboro?
No.
Okay, when you walk through the front doors, like their administration, our building administration is right there. You go to the right, you have the cafeteria and the gym. You go to the left, you have the library, and you have classrooms down that wing right there. So,
right.
there'd probably be ways to do it, but
Well, there's a part of running a school district that's a business,
Sure.
and I personally don't want that around the kids.
Right.
And I know it sounds nice to put it in the high school, and when I was at Twin Valley, we did that.
Right.
And Twin Valley, that school was engineered that way. They actually built a wing on the building for the central office, but it was kind of locked off, and there was a separate entrance for the public to come into. So it's.
So, I'm sorry. With the lease, the people that are leasing this
River
building,
Rocks.
Proposed.
Is there
Proposed.
Are there other people that could also lease this building at the same time? Is that even a possibility?
The market's not real good for that, but it certainly is a possibility.
anything's a possibility.
Anything's a possibility.
Yeah.
All right.
How many people are we looking to move that would be left that you can't, like Ken's going to work out of his vehicle per se?
Well, he's not really.
I know, but how many people are we talking about relocating?
The physical bodies?
Yes.
Well, if you would count the superintendent's office, that's 1. The assistant to the superintendent, that's 2. 3 secretaries. So kind of our central administration, that little wing is 5 people.
Plus your curriculum.
Plus the curriculum person, 6. And then Kenny's part of that office now, but so he's got a spot, so don't count him in there. And then I think Mr. Boyer, assistant business manager, that's 2, and I think he has another additional staff of 5, so that's 7. So 12 total bodies.
Plus 2 food service.
Plus the food service, which they could go different places as well.
What about that house that we own right below the high school?
Oh, it's not big enough.
That's not big enough, and
Not
we're
big
already
enough.
under
No.
lease. We're already monetizing that with
No.
with
That's
the-
a BCIU.
We're already
special
monetizing
needs
that.
Well, I didn't know
students in there.
if we moved them here and move the administration.
It's not big enough, Mike.
Right.
It's not big enough at all.
I've never been in it, so.
Yeah, it's small. It's not real big.
15.
And if the board ultimately decides to relocate per the plan that we just described here, it's not going to occupy the whole building anyway. There would still be other space left over. I would just, again, when you talk about trying to use every square foot,
Yeah.
you're going to have a shopping mall here, and I don't know if that's
Right.
conducive to running a school district either.
With the way that River Rocks is laid out, is that, like, does it matter to them?
We'll put a gate up for
Okay.
that. We can get a gate and put that across. We've seen an arrangement with them where they, out in Red Line, they actually did a similar plan to what they're proposing here. They took half of a building and the district kept the other half. But their special ed department is occupying that. So it's a similar arrangement but different, but they don't really share space. So we're trying to do the best we can with trying to earn some money for the place, which I think River Rock will allow us to do. If we come over here as a district office for the people that I described, it still leaves the possibility of maybe taking the third floor if somebody would want it, that we would be amenable to and don't feel like they would be disruptive to our operation. It'd certainly leave that opportunity. You can't rent space at the high school while it's being used. You just can't. So that can't happen.
With this being, say, a multi-lease building, what's the difficulties with splitting utilities to monitor? With different, say, if you're going to be in the third floor and somebody's going to be in the second floor, how do you monitor? Would that
That's basically square footage. Just figure it out.
You're just going to do it that way?
That's what we're doing with the River Rock lease.
That's what we're doing now.
Okay. So it's not-
Whatever, if they take, say, 30% of the building, they get 30% of the
Okay.
utility bill.
Yeah.
Period.
Okay.
And that gets written into the lease, and then they agree to that. So there are a lot of considerations. It's a big decision. We just think it's nice to be able to save $100,000 every year by not being. We certainly, whatever we do, we don't recommend staying down.
I mean, it's
at
very-
Madison.
No, I don't.
That's gotta
I do
end.
not want to stay there.
So we got to point the arrow in some other different direction. It doesn't make sense to stay down.
I mean, this board's been looking for ways to bring revenue back or find some funding for other programs, and what a better, quick, easy way for 100,000 positive instead of trying to cut program. I mean, that's the bottom line while we're here, and hopefully we come to a quick decision instead of because obviously Kenny, you need that. So
Well, I mean, for us to do the work, I mean, so I'd like to know, I mean, before Christmas, that's for sure.
okay.
You know, so that gives us Christmas holiday to go in and, you know, do what we got to do. I just need to know for our end of it. And I have a couple here. BEC in the middle school, basically, we're having some freezer box issues that we're looking at. We have a lot of condensation on the roofs, so we turned up the defrost cycles for a longer period of time. Seems to be taking care of the problem right now, but it's another issue we're having right now. And up at the high school, we have several compressors. There's 2 compressors in the cafeteria right now that we have scheduled to change out, and that's just taken out of my general budget. That's allocated already for stuff like that. So just a heads up. So if anybody calls because it's a little warm or a little cool in the cafeterias, we're getting to it. We're getting to it.
For all the work that you have done, do we have enough money in your funds to cover everything, or do we need to start looking at how?
No, basically right now, as I said in the beginning, I mean, the demand response in the Act 129 that we made this year is basically roughly $78,000. It's basically going to cover everything that I just spoke about here tonight, and basically leave probably about $25,000 left over in the capital.
We should put this on the agenda for board approval.
Correct.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
designate the funds.
Yeah, I'll get with Scott so you can present it Monday night, and get with Dr. Otto so you can get it Monday night, because I'll be at the high school doing these pumps and the,
Okay.
and the cooling tower.
Obviously, those whiteboards, we'll get those 9 out of here.
Yeah, we can get the 9 out of here. That's no problem. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I didn't see the final quote. I don't know if that was figured in as, again, it's only
No,
part of a roof. It's not the
it
bigger
wasn't.
part of it.
I mean...
Material, I don't think, is the bigger part. Was that just the price of materials?
No, that's installing everything.
thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we can definitely use them, but I don't think the material was a big part of that.
Right.
Yeah.
As long as we can utilize them instead of sitting in the
Yeah.
hall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're going to take a walk.
Yeah, I'd like to take a walk around with everybody and show them basically the building.
Well, primarily, you might want to give them an idea where the size of the rooms and where River Rock will be.
We'll
If
do that. We'll walk real soon here.
All right.
Let's do it.
Right now, I would say, if you want to wait 24 hours.
Okay.
Repaint.
Huh?
Repaint?
Yeah, this is all done. Basically, River Rocks, what we propose, River Rocks is going to use this entrance right here. And basically, River Rocks would be utilizing this all the way down through here. We'll just take a walk down through here. This classroom right here. I'll turn on the light here. You can see basically the size of the classroom that they're going to be utilizing.
And that's a whiteboard. Right?
There are magnetic whiteboards. Yes.
So that's what we were just talking about.
Oh, this one too? Is that what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
What happens
bas-
to the furniture?
what's that?
What happens to the furniture? Like all of the library book carousels and bookshelves and all of that. Does that get sold? Do you leave it for River Rock?
Well, River Rock did mention that at one of our meetings, that if we were going to leave some of it, that they thought about renting it or something.
Right.
Because I know that did come up at a board meeting.
Yeah, that's contained in the lease.
That's contained
That's
in
all
the
addressed
lease
in
as
the
far
lease.
as the desk and everything like that. Like if they bring older kids in here, of course they're not going to be able to use this desk.
Right.
They're not going to be able to use the desk.
I'm just thinking of like other places in the district that might be able to use it. Like
Well, we do
saw a
take.
chair in there that I would really like in my room as opposed to what I have.
We do.
That's now we know why you
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, that's why I came. I'm
We do
picking out
take.
what I want.
We do take desks out of here, and we use the desk.
It's a nice room.
Did you leave that on?
Yeah.
You remember from the robot when we carried it.
Yeah. Pretty large classroom.
Yeah, I think I like this building. It's clean.
May I ask you who you are? Then she has me.
I'm Lauren Lakesley.
So
I
basically,
actually
we
found it. I did.
were trying to call you to set up a meeting. That would go around here.
Oh, I have two numbers.
Well, call my secretary tomorrow. I'm going to be out in the office
Yeah.
tomorrow, but
I actually will be down at Chocolate Fair like
Well,
all day.
just I want to respond to you.
Yeah.
Is there a drink at the end of this?
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's called.
Is that another way from
Yeah.
That's bigger than what I thought.
Yeah, they are big.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
That's not what we have. That's not what we have. Right? You have campus size.
It's like a labyrinth in here.
Yeah. Let me put the light over here.
So now these whiteboards, what we purchased, same size?
It's part of the ESCO project, yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice.
Board meeting, yeah.
I didn't
I
notice.
didn't really-
And there's a classroom down there. So So basically this whole loop that we did here is basically what River Rocks is going to be.
I mean, they have to be very pleased with the facility to be able to.
Yeah, no, that won't work.
What all do they need yet? What are they reviewing? Are they just reviewing?
I just think they're reviewing the lease agreement. I don't know. You'd have to ask Dr. Otto on that. I really don't know.
About 28,000 square feet. Kenny, what is it, 28,000 is in the lease?
Yeah.
Plus some common areas. They'll use our office.
So basically that's it. And of course the gym in there will be a common area that they want to use also. We're going here. Let me get a flick of lights on. So this would be one of the common areas that they're interested in also. Common areas would be the gym and the cap over there.
So right now, Dr. Otto, they have the full lease agreement and they're under review with it, or where's
The only thing we're trying to iron out in the lease agreement is the money part. Everything else is pretty much, I mean, you guys have to look at it and vote on
Right.
it, but it's...
When are they going to come back with the feedback on that?
It's going to be on the agenda next Monday.
Okay.
Be a busy week.
We can walk out here and go up through the other part of the building. But
Did you say, you said the lease is pretty much final?
Oh, yeah. I'll get you a shot.
I'm not looking for that. That's,
No,
I think it's
anything we're putting in here is supposed to be marked there. Yeah, I sure can. I don't have it. I'll probably find it in my iPhone. I'm not into all.
this is basically the office area right in here.
This is the River Rock office area or our office area?
This, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. It's part of the lease. I really don't get into the lease that far. I mean, that was handled by Dr. Otto.
But this is part of the 2,800 square feet? This is, or that's?
No, I don't think so.
I think it'd be down there and in two common areas, and this
Yeah.
would probably be isolated.
Everything would be down that way.
Down that way?
Yes, everything will be down that way.
Okay.
As far as River Rocks.
Right, and then if we ultimately land here, we'd be back up here.
Back this way?
Yes.
Okay. Where would the gate go? And you mentioned something about the gate, right?
Well, I don't know if we would put one in probably there, right across that hall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just portable gates that latch onto the wall. You put a U-bracket on the wall and they just pull right across. And you just latch them.
Would the students come in through here and then at the end of the day lock it, or was there another entryway?
There's other entrances down there. There's two entrances out the playground down there. So
Okay.
I'm just curious, why could you put a gate here and not in high school?
Because you have students who have to flow through that hallway, and by fire code, you can't cut
Well-
access off to that hallway.
Also, where if it's the same place as you showed us, where you're talking about
There's
the
front
offices,
three.
that whole wall here would be filled with kids' lockers.
Yeah.
yeah, and our locker space at that high school
Is that a premium?
is at
Yes.
a premium. We have no more like open walls that we can put any more lockers in there. I mean, we got some portable lockers that we stood up in the hallways up there, and any spare space that we had, locker spaces at a premium up there.
I know.
And you're talking basically, I did count them. You're talking over 100 lockers that we'd have to find.
See, my plan when we originally looked at the high school was I said, well, let's just shut down this hallway, and they laughed at me. They said, we can't just shut down the hallway in the high school, so we have to let the kids have their flow around the different parts
That's
of
the
the
flow
building
going to
that they still
the
use.
old gym also. So
Mhm. Yeah.
You're talking.
Yeah.
When the lockers break, my son's locker was broken for the first week, and there's nowhere to go.
There's nowhere to go.
Backpack,
There's not
and that's
spare
it.
lockers. We don't have spare lockers. Some kids are sharing lockers.
I thought you said 2,800.
2,800 would be, it's not 2,800 square feet, right?
No.
2,800 is the size of the house.
Yeah, that's
28,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a little difference.
No. No, I don't
I
know.
think that's what we're include.
No,
They got your
my house.
All the rest of it. Do you live in Amity?
I do, yeah.
Now, this is the old part of the building. Basically, it was built back in 1935. You'll see the difference in the size of the rooms.
Go ahead.
Some of the rooms are smaller and some of the rooms are bigger. So this is basically average size room. We'll go around and take a look at the other ones. I'll just go around and turn the lights on down through the hallway here, and then everybody can take a look there.
What's that? You want me to go all the way around?
Yeah. Very old.
Oh, wow.
Actually, this will be the north
Will
one.
be like tables and chairs to sit kind of in these rooms? Not like, can they make space to work or not?
Closed now.
It's like everything else.
Oh, they put loud stuff. They use loud stuff.
And then and last year was Jacksonville, and
Right.
Jacksonville will be built for what?
Oh, so Jacksonville moved to Watt, and Loush became Jacksonville. And now Loush is doing that. I mean, my kids went to Jacksonville.
What business? You walk around here all night and lights on.
I can go right down and computer. They'll go out as long as there's no motion. They're all motion lights.
Board meeting in a dungeon.
They'll go out.
Exeter board, remember that? Down in the basement.
Let me turn the lights on. We can go upstairs.
The Exeter Commons, that's a beautiful building, you want to buy it. Understand it, so take it on that. But you have this whole school closed down.
Now, when you moved everyone out, did you clean the building?
No, I kept it really nice here. We cleaned
Oh, place up on the hill.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a real very
And
nice.
that guy, he.
Like ready to move in.
They lost a lot of money on that.
And you can see the classroom and everything.
This also would be part of facilities or administration.
No, I mean, the thing is here, Keith, there's no elevator. So any type of ADA issues that arise, no. We were grandfathered before through all the renovations. We were grandfathered.
Right.
You didn't have to put one in. But if you're going to lease the building out to the public, you don't want to put people up there. You don't want to put, any kind of business or try to lease this third floor. So if someone falls or anything like that, you don't have an elevator to get them back up.
Is there anything we want to point out here, Kenny, or is this just a general walking tour?
No, this is basically a general walking tour. What you got to remember, in this building, there is no elevator. Okay, so the third floor, if we have any ADA issues with any type of leasing this third floor out, I don't think we're going to be able to, because there's no elevator.
I forgot about that. That's a big issue.
Yeah, there is no elevator.
And that's why when we were thinking about if any part of the central office comes here, we have to stay down there on that first floor. Because if somebody wants to come in and,
Well, if you would have someone injured or anything like that who worked for the district or anything like that, there is no elevator to get them up to their job site. So,
and you couldn't deny them employment because of that.
right.
So either elevator or And that you don't even want to talk about price-wise.
Out of
No,
curiosity,
no,
what do you
no.
do if there's like a child? What was the if there was a child that was injured and couldn't get up to their classroom?
Basically, they would move the child.
Right.
I was in some old buildings in my past
They
where
would move the child.
we actually relocated classrooms.
Yeah.
The whole classroom to accommodate that
We've
one
done it
child.
in
Because I was
this.
going to say it's. I mean,
We've
there's
done it in
other
this
schools
building
that don't have
several
it.
times.
Yeah.
Several times. Yeah.
It's not an unfamiliar issue.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a lot of fun either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, this is the third floor.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the bond show.
Okay, this is basically the tunnel. This is part of the old building. These used to be the old locker rooms for Amity High School down in here. They were the old locker rooms.
What did your daughter do again? I'm sorry. She flat in flat.
Yes.
I like their outfit.
Here's the whiteboards that I got for you.
Oh, really?
Here's our evidence.
Here's our whiteboards that I got for free off of Everrace. Yeah. These are non-magnetic. And to show you the typical locker room.
Just before, we saw them before.
Yeah, they only play pregame because
Actually, I like the quality. This would be a nice place to have an office.
It's plenty of.
on Friday they had the but people
So,
when they have regular football games,
Yeah.
the team travels.
these are the old locker rooms. Take you downstairs and show you the rest of it. Yeah, you can have your own
Another little
toilet.
baby toilet.
Yeah. Need a crane to get your butt off. of
Wait,
it.
Kenny, wait, we get everybody out of here.
Okay, just hit that light.
All right, I got it.
A lot of mazes in this building. An old building. This is the old band room. I think these were down here before. Just watch the road.
When it was all jackhammered.
Yeah, this is the old band room. When we renovated the building, this had old sleepers in it, and this was all rotten. It smelled musty down in here. So what we did is we came down and ripped the floor out. Yeah.
To prevent a situation like
To
a brand
prevent a situation like a brand new one.
Exactly. The old M word. That's a good question. Probably.
All in schools.
Kenny, just like a water roll.
Just for
Check what about revenue located?
the same thing that those guys out in Spring.
Right. These are all our main loop pumps. When we put these loop pumps in, unlike the other ones, these already had ceramic bearings in them for the VFDs. The VFDs are right there on the wall. You can adjust all your percentages on that. Our generator and our old well tank, which is a bank over there. So. That's a 10,000 gallon water tank that's abandoned. That's where our main comes in for PA American Water over there. That's where all our backflow preventer is, down in the pit down in there.
Getting down into the bowels of the building now.
Yep. Want to see it?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Like that.
It's been a big progression over the years, hasn't it, here?
Yeah. Yeah, let me hit that right there, Mike. Yep. This is a 1968 boiler. Still going strong.
In here when they were doing it, redoing amp and everything, it was amazing.
And these guys seen the new one we put in there, right?
Yeah.
No building like this anymore. I guess. Keep that fan going in that tunnel. Just to keep the black stuff from growing. And there's one more section that can show you. You might as well hit it all. What's that? Down in the book room and down in the back of the room.
Some of these sections would be so hard to lease out and be a nightmare.
Yeah. So that ends the tour. Any questions?
Left them speechless.
Yeah.
You're the chair. You can adjourn the meeting when you're ready.
Is there any other agenda items need to be discussed? Any other questions?
Agenda's been covered.
Any
Unless there's
questions?
questions.
Just after walking us through all this, how do we find our way out?
Yeah.
Yeah, then we can adjourn.
No, we're going to turn the lights out and see how we can
Spin you 3 times.
match.
Let's go.
You know what's,
Doesn't go
you know
out.
what's scary though? I come over to this building every morning to do building check, probably around quarter after 5. Yeah, and I'll just tell you one thing. I came through here.
Should we adjourn first?
Yeah, you better adjourn.
Okay. 8:20, meeting adjourned.
I came